This is where it starts getting interesting. To find our LCD, we first must factor every denominator. And so we list all the factors right up here. So we have an x minus 1 in the first factor, so that has to be part of our LCD. We have an x minus 1 here, that's taken care of, but we also have an x. And then in the third denominator, we have x times x minus 1, and so we have already taken care of both of those factors in the LCD, and so we found our LCD. The restrictions, x can't be 0, it makes that factor 0, but the other factor, the other value of x that makes this factor 0 would be 1, so x can't be 1 either. And then when we multiply both sides by our LCD, we're multiplying both sides by x times x minus 1. And when we do that, so if we talk our way through this, maybe we can avoid having to write everything down. This x minus 1 cancels with that one. We're still left with an x times a 1. So we have x times 1. Here we have x times x minus 1. Well, that's the entire LCD, so all we're left with is the numerator. 1 times the numerator is just the numerator. Same with this one over here. This x times x minus 1, that cancels with the LCD, so the only thing we're left with is the 1. And if we can multiply the x times 1. X times 1 is x, 4x on the right side, and then 8 plus 1 is 9. So at this point, again, what I like to do is I like to move my variables to the side where the variables will be positive. You don't have to do it this way. You could subtract 4x from both sides and divide by -3, or you could subtract x from both sides and subtract 9 from both sides. It's probably less work, actually, doing it where you subtract 4x from both sides. But nevertheless, we have 3x equals -9. I just like to keep my variables positive. And -9 divided by 3 is -3, and 3's cancel over here, so we have x equals -3, not one of the restrictions. Always want to look. This is where the problems start getting a little bit more complicated. You always want to look, and you see that they are this answer that you got is not one of the restrictions, and so then you just move on to the next problem because you found the answer. It's not one of the restrictions, and so you don't have to cancel it out. It's not an extraneous solution. All right, so for problem number 16, the LCD should be easier than the last one. LCD, here we have just r minus 1 as the common factor. This one over here just has a 1, so the LCD is r minus 1, multiplying both sides by r minus 1. And we can see this denominator here doesn't cancel, so r minus 1 times 1 is just r minus 1. Oops, that's a plus sign. And then this r minus 1 cancels with the LCD, so we're left with r. R minus 1 divided by r minus 1 is 1. 1 times r is r. And then equals this denominator here cancels with the LCD, so we're left with 1 times r minus 4. And so in simplifying the left side by combining like terms, r plus r is 2r minus 1 equals r minus 4. Subtracting r from both sides and at the same time adding 1 to both sides, 2r minus r is r. The 1 and the -1 cancel, r minus r cancel, giving you 0. -4 plus 1 is -3. And, the restrictions. The restrictions are only that r is not allowed to equal 1, because that would make r minus 1 0. So our solution is not one of the restrictions, and so we move on. R equals -3.